ran, and she was on both of our accounts, but for me, each other, and I just I did like great coffees with him, and I think, like Majola was saying, like you can't just be like, "Can you give me a job?" But also, you can kind of do that. Like once you get to know them, like Phil hit me up, like he was like, "Oh, you're about to graduate, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm unemployed and I have a job," and he gave me one. So I think also you do need to, yeah, don't be afraid to ask, kind of thing. Yeah, he took me for a coffee, and I was like, "Please give me a job," and he gave me a job on the set, and I got like my first credit, and it was cool. Yeah, so don't be afraid to ask, I think. Yeah, coffees can be daunting, but I think you like the point is I also think like don't it's not meant to be like a job interview. Don't try and like charm them, like just be honest and it's okay. Yeah.
Can you talk about setting up your own production company also? Because that's like incredible.
You know what? I got my dad to do all the paperwork.
Okay.
I was like,
do that. Everybody just do that.
I was like, he likes paperwork, so I was like, you can be the silent partner. You can do all the paperwork. I'll be the face of the company that I can do. Yeah, it was a lot. It was like a lot of loads of letters coming to my house. I'm like, what's going on? But yeah, the thing that's great about that is it's just like starting, like if starting young, because you're eventually going to need one if you're making your own kind of project. So you might as well just start one now, and it's just like something to have like all the paperwork to go through, and it also just gives you like control because you're kind of your own boss. It's nice, and if you're like a writer director like I am, like you don't need to like jump through hoops kind of like looking for a producer. Like to produce my own work, like you can do it yourself if you have your own like system. So would recommend, but yeah, I would say get a dog's body to do the paperwork for you.
Can you also tell us why it's called Quite the Cowboy?
Oh man, I love cowboys.
Okay, it's just that.
I like Brokeback Mountain.
Cool.
And I like the gay cowboys was a thing. I don't know. And shout out Kai who designed my logo. He's sat right there.
Okay, cool. Okay. Did you watch the Cowboys thing that was on at the Royal Court recently?
I couldn't get a ticket.
Okay, yeah, neither could I. But apparently it was amazing. So, don't know if anybody got to see that. That looked cool. I want to move on to James because James is also amazing and I love him. But also, James has a more unique experience of like relocating to London to work in film, I'd say. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because I feel that is not something that is addressed often, is that it's like you have to be based in London already and that's how you work in film. And that was not my experience and that was not James's experience because he's from Edinburgh.
Yeah, I found it slightly scary at first and a little bit frustrating because I felt like everyone knew where they were going and I was rocking up thinking about which tube do I get rather than what am I doing with my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there's definitely been a lot of opportunity in London and I did a sort of little trial week where I came down, I sent a few of those cold emails, I did the coffees and that gave me like a good sample and then I moved a couple of months later and I think from having had that week I'd established like a couple of bases, like going to BFI for coffee.
Amazing.
And that felt like I was making some sort of familiar pockets for meeting up with filmy people.
So if people aren't based in London, being able to just sleep on a mate's sofa for like a week and trying to do as much as you can in that week seems like a really good idea, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And how did you get into working at Lip Sync Post? Because that's a great place to work also.
That was online applications, actually from Facebook, which I thought was kind of bonkers to begin with. I thought everything would have to be very official and formal, and turns out a ton of film stuff is on Facebook. So I think that one was called something like Runners in TV UK. You send an email, you literally rock up like a day later to do a trial shift, and you're there. So
wow.
Very informal.
I got my job from Instagram, actually.
From Instagram, okay.
Yeah, it's so silly.
Yeah, actually me too, I think I've got some stuff through Instagram. Yeah, actually that is an interesting question. What's your relationship to social media and what you put out on do you have personal Instagram, private, public? I don't, but I think maybe I should.
I hate social media and using it myself, so I'm in a horrible situation of a very formal Instagram bio that goes like production assistant at somewhere and then no posts of my life. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely useful for looking at the groups that post job ads. But respect the people that post all their film updates.
Yeah, what about the rest of you? What's your kind of relationship?
It's just my Instagram, and I'm like, because like I'm also a person. Like it's not like I don't want to be like, oh, my like wanky film work. Like I am my own brand, so like there will be memes. Sorry, like maybe I should be more professional and like stop shit posting. But right now, as of now, no.
No, I think it's fine. But I'm like, I've had an Instagram account since I was, I think, 12, which is like horrific. And I did have to go back and like archive a lot of stuff. And then I was like, well, this is already funny, so if people want to see it, they can. But please, nobody go back and scroll.
Yeah, it's a retweet something, and I'm like, oh, retweet. I just remembered I have so and so following me.
Yeah. And Yeah, I mean, on that, I kind of also maybe wanted to ask about like things like other forms of personal branding. Have you guys gone into like making websites, that kind of thing? Yeah.
So I haven't made a website, but I actually, one of the mentors I was speaking through one of the programs I did, she recommended, she said, I was like, oh, I want to make something, I want to make an Instagram that's not my name, but it's like the name of like the protection company I want to start working on. And she gave some really sage advice, because she says, ultimately, if someone wants to Google you, as in you were to send in a thing, you're going to say, hi, I'm X, Y, and Z, and I want to send it to them, I want to work on this. If they were to search your name up, even if it's not your Instagram, because her Instagram, actually, she's a producer, and her Instagram is just her personal Instagram, and that's absolutely fine. And she like posts like running updates and just her life. It's not like, this is my job, this is what I do. But she has a website, a really, really cool website that has all her stuff. So if you're the kind of person, I'm the kind of person where I think Instagram's useful for finding jobs, but I don't necessarily want to start posting on my personal Instagram, treating it like it's a business account. Keep that to LinkedIn. But she was, her advice was, if someone wants to Google you, that there should be some kind of portfolio or maybe a website or something where, if you are saying I'm a writing director, let's see what you have created in the past. And she, it doesn't have to be. But I mean, I was given that advice, several months ago, and I'm still like, oh, I want to make a website, scary. But I think you have to just sort of make that leap where you're, like you said, you are your own brand, especially if you're, I think particularly as a director, like you are sort of, you're kind of presenting your vision in your eye, and that's what you're offering, so being able to showcase that. I think I'm just going to pass on some good advice I was given, which I still need to take, but hopefully some of you take it.
I would recommend Squarespace.
Squarespace, Wix, and Weebly were the things that she mentioned.
Yeah, it's cheap. Like, I made one on Squarespace in like 2 days, and that was for the same reason. I didn't want it to be like my own social media, but I wanted, if somebody like Googles my name, then it comes up with the website, and you can curate that and make it seem like you're extremely successful, even though you've just graduated.
It's important. It's like the fake it till you make it. Ultimately, you are your biggest champion. No one's going to sit there and say, oh, I want, like, do you know what I mean? You have to be the person that's like, actually, I have done things, and even though I have just graduated, here's just things I did whilst I was uni, which is like doubly impressive, because I was also doing a degree at that time.
Yeah, totally. And from championing ourselves to championing others, I want to talk to Matthew about being an agent's assistant, because I feel like that is kind of part of your role, is kind of bringing people out and choosing people for the right projects. So maybe you could talk about like how you got into that.
Yeah, of course. Is it helpful to explain like what I do?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think like we sign people and they're like, great, what do you do?
Please tell us what you do.
Because I think for a lot of people as well, like, an agency is quite mysterious in some ways. I think, being a bit flippant, but I think on our best days, we're like the invisible hand moving the chess pieces of the industry. On our worst days, we're like, please, we've worked together for 20 years, just please give Freddie a job. I work with 3 agents, which is quite a lot, but I'm across 140 clients, and they're a range of, some of them are, have created and show running shows for HBO. Some of them are emerging writers who haven't actually, won any competitions or anything. They've just sent something in, and someone's just read it on the day, and they've thought, actually, this is really good. We can do something with this. And so it's a whole range of things. We take care of people's kind of career management strategizing, so we're there putting people up for jobs and giving them advice on what they're writing, or like, the kind of project we think they should be directing next. We do everyone's contracts, so we're there negotiating. I am also now doing a lot of negotiating, which as a 23-year-old is quite funny when you're like speaking with like a 50-year-old lawyer, and you're like, hey, actually, I think I found this. And so that's like really, I think, amazing experience for just understanding how the film industry works, how money works, and actually how to protect yourself as well. I think there's so many things that I see going on around in the industry where I'm like, it's so amazing that people have this initiative, but oh my god, please protect yourself, because the amount of people who early on in their careers get screwed over in terms of rights or financially, I know certainly when I was emerging and doing a lot of work freelance, like, you know, I do like 5 months work of script editing, and I would get like 100 quid, and I like see this now and I'm like, oh, people get £5,000 for that. So yeah, and then otherwise you're like managing everyone's money, and then you're just there kind of like being a cheerleader, being like, everyone's quite different. Some of them are like, you know, doing these amazing things, and actually they just kind of take care of themselves and take over, and you just check in like every so often. But there's some people who, you know, they just want to like WhatsApp every day, and you just like check in and you know, tell them that everything's going great and everything's sorted, and you're really excited for what they're doing. And so it's just like, it's like a person thing. I think it's really about like being able to gauge who people are, and then kind of adjust yourself or adapt yourself to what they need, and just kind of being transparent and keeping people like in the clear and feeling comfortable, because it's quite an insecure world, it's quite an opaque world at times as well, so you're really just trying to demystify that for them, or when it is complicated, maybe like just shelter them from that and just give them what they need to know so that they can create great work to the best of their ability without worrying about like, you know, their accounts.
And are you working with, what type of clients are you representing, like screenwriters?
Yeah, so I work with screenwriters, directors and producers.
Wow.
So because I'm across, one of my agents, she really works with, I would say, quite authored voices, so kind of auteurs, either people who are writing or directing quite personal films, or people who are doing really quite personal work on television, your kind of like limited series and stuff like that, or stuff that has a really particular flavour, really particular world. I then have another agent is largely with directors and producers on returning television, so those shows that like run. She's mostly working on things like, you know, Silent Witness, Death in Paradise, stuff like that. And then my other agent, she mostly works with, she has a range of a few showrunners and then lots of writer performers. So I think especially kind of in the post Fleabag world, the post Michaela Cole world, we then have a lot of people who are brilliant acting talents. A lot of actors cannot write, a lot of actors should not write, please stop writing actors. But some of them are really, really brilliant, and you know, they bring this like amazing energy and vision, and you know, have these brilliant projects. So usually they come to us through acting agents, and then, you know, for a lot of them, their screenwriting career has actually overtaken their acting, and then predominantly, you know, they're creating their own shows.
Yeah, cool. And I realised that we didn't really talk to Hannah that much about the work that you're doing at the moment, so I was wondering if you might be able to talk about some of your projects that you have going on.
Freelance?
Maybe you could talk about stuff that you're doing at Carnival, and then freelance, and then we can maybe do a little bit of like how we feel about side hustles, and maybe something about unpaid labour, which we are against. And then I think we're going to open it up to the audience for a few questions. So, but yeah, back to Hannah to talk about Carnival a little bit.
Okay, yes, so I'm in development, which basically means, anything from the conception of an idea. So an exec might walk in and be like, I think we should make a TV show about nuns, and the process of finding a writer to really enact that project, finding a voice, finding a tone, all of that, we kind of, it's just, strengthening a project up, and then on a day-to-day, I'm sometimes sitting in on writers' rooms and making the notes, or we're writing on whiteboards and mind maps and all of the things. And then the next phase, once you've kind of got a script, you've got an outline, is thinking of strategy to broadcasters. So strategically trying to meet with somebody from ITV one week, or Netflix, or Paramount, or whoever, and figuring out what constantly changing, because I guess it's the market really, and what they respond to. And so we will be keeping an eye on what's doing well, where to go to places to pitch those ideas to, and so for me, kind of supporting writers, building up those ideas, and it varies so much. I'm also reading a lot from day to day. We get about, like around 100 submissions a week, and that's in the form of scripts, of pitches,
lots from Cutts Brown agents, or other agents, and so much of the stuff is just incredible to read, and you can really see the world in your mind, but you have to be so selective. So it's kind of reading with the eye of how realistic can this be? Is this what people want? Is this the kind of stuff that we're creating?
And do you find that nourishing for your own creative endeavours on the side then? Because I guess you're being exposed to so much material, and it must have an impact on you kind of fine-tuning what you're realising on sitting on one side is good to receive, So if you're trying to produce things outside, do you find it nourishing, or do you kind of keep it separate?
I guess on one hand it's so nourishing because it's like there's so many great ideas out there, and I can see it in my mind, and it's so world building, and I'm so passionate about how much talent there is out in the world. But then on the other hand, it's occasionally quite disheartening because when you're on the inside of it, you know how good an idea can be, and it still doesn't make it across. But I try and kind of let that drive me more to kind of be like, no, we need to change how things are run here, and not just make it the decision in a few people's hands and push past that. So I try to stay on the positive side of that, but it can be weighty. Sometimes.
And I wanted to briefly touch on this also. I know that we're running out of time, and I want to talk to you guys forever, but like, what do you do when you're feeling a bit disheartened about the industry, or like, doing this work that it's such a privilege to be able to do it, but it's also like really difficult. I feel like you have to be on your A game, and you kind of have to be looking out for yourself a lot to make sure that you're not being screwed over. And sometimes I just find it a bit like, maybe I should just work for JP Morgan or something, I don't know. But I obviously would never do that. But I just go to the cinema, and like, if I go to the cinema, like, I just sit there, and it's like, an hour and a half, and then even if the film is bad, I think, and it's often not, I mean, there's been so much good film that's out recently, but you go there once and you're just like, oh, okay, like, totally makes sense, this is why I'm trying to do it. But I don't know if you guys have other things that you do.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Watching films really kickstarts the love again. Because you spend so much time thinking about making them.
Yeah.
You forget that you feel so happy watching them do, and you should definitely go back and do that.
Yeah.
And because I write and really enjoy writing, I find that's a really good starting point to bounce off a film.
Yeah.
And that puts you in the mood, and then you feel productive afterwards. But I've chatted about this a lot with friends, and we've landed on it's really good to have friends that don't work in film.
Yes.
And chat to them about their jobs too. Because not only will that remind you don't want to be at JP Morgan, but it will also show you that the world is bigger, and that you've got other people that can comfort you by not being in the industry, and you don't have that underlying pressure of competing with them, or seeing where they're at. And so it's reassuring. And I think because film is definitely a very social industry, there's a lot of networking, a lot of party, fun, festival type stuff like this. It means you end up having a lot of film friends, and so it's great to have film friends, but also to have the JP Morgan friends.
And also people who work for like charities and not JP Morgan.
Yeah, all kinds of friends. But just like have a full life.
Yeah.
I wanted to just echo that and say, film is a very unserious job. Like, I go to work every day and I'm like, I can't believe I'm being paid to read. And, some of my best friends are doctors, and I'll come home and be like, oh God, I had such a rough day. Like, I had to send a pastor a book that I really liked, and I passed in like the coffee, whatever. And she's like, I watched somebody die today. Like, what?
Yeah. No, but this is the thing. You definitely need that like perspective thing. Yeah.
So just stay. I mean, it's great. You're passionate about it. It's amazing, and it's a job, but stay grounded.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is slightly useful, like maybe slightly down the line advice, because I think when you're starting out, especially when you're in the stage of actively applying for jobs, you kind of want to be watching everything like as it's coming out. You feel like you've got to be across like the new Harlan Coben, the new Channel 4 comedy. You got to be covering all bases. But I think as you start to get more into the industry, I think it actually becomes far more important to work out who you are, and you start to be able to work out, well, what are my tastes? And actually, instead of watching a bunch of you know, erotic thrillers, if that's not really your vibe, instead, like, just actually, like, you know, I go and watch a lot of indie films because that's kind of what I love, and I find I can actually, like, be more myself, and that kind of is re-energizing. Like, once you start to make connections, once you're, like, actually in, like, a steady stream of work, you can really start to just be yourself, and so much of the industry, I think, is about chemistry. It's like relationships, you know, you're not going to, like, date everyone you meet, but you start to find people who, like, actually understand you. And I think, like, from my point of view as well, you know, you see writers who you're like, okay, maybe this company would make this project, but is it going to be the project as they want it? No. So you find, like, the right people to kind of match, and I think when you find those people, like, then you hold on to them dearly, and you understand each other for what you are and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, totally. I am going to open it up to questions now because I know that we're running a bit late, but I think maybe there are some microphones, or if not, you can speak up, or I could just take you one of these ones. But does anybody have any questions? You can raise your hand. Or if not, I can ask another one. Yeah, just him.
Really online questions, but we haven't got one in, so I'll ask my own. I guess I'm quite interested in doing something creative once I leave. I'm not really sure what, so I guess, do you have any tips on, like, I guess finding jobs or just doing experience, cold emailing, like, I don't know, just to hear a bit more about that.
Someone wanna?
Yeah, I think if you're looking for, if you're not exactly sure, is it that you don't know whether you want to go into film and TV, or whether you're not sure what you want to do within the industry? Yeah, I think, again, like everyone said, calling, emailing, and also just asking if you can shadow people as well. I think that's really helpful, just seeing what they do day to day. And I think if you are also, this is actual sort of, because we've been talking a lot about, like, Instagram accounts and Facebook groups, and I think I'm just going to reel off a list of things I wish people told me that I've done for them. But there's a Facebook group that you got your job from, called People in TV, or like Runners in TV. It will be there. It's got like 100,000, I think, people in it. I'm exaggerating. There's a lot of people in it. And there's also another one called Production Rabble as well, which is a bit smaller, that also advertises things as well. There's a newsletter called the Equal Access Network.
Yeah, that's
really,
amazing.
really amazing. And I don't know who runs it, but I want to give them a massive hug.
I know who runs it, and they're amazing.
Oh my god, yeah. Really pass on my
Yeah, they're sick. And yeah, they advertise only paid positions also, which I did want to touch on, like, briefly before, just basically that, like, there's a massive problem with unpaid labour in the industry, and Equal Access Network are trying to make it so that all of the jobs that they advertise are paid, because otherwise there is no access.
Yeah, exactly. You can't say we're increasing diversity when you don't pay people. It's
it's ridiculous.
So frustrating. Or pay people what they need to live in London if they're working in London, which isn't like 18 grand, to be honest, after tax. Anyways, and then you also have screen skills. Screen skills are really amazing. If you are also under the age of 19, I think you can do the BFI Film Academy, which is really amazing because then you can become an alumni. And once you're an alumni, they really, really care about your career. I got my first job through the BFI Film Academy alumni traineeship, which is really, really amazing. I got to work on the Star Wars project, so definitely, even if you aren't under the age of 19, they still do labs, and they still, depending on where you're from in the country, like their hubs often have like young people branches that you can, basically BFI are absolutely incredible. And BAFTA do a scholarship as well. Oh god, actually I'm just rattling off a list in my brain, but I'm like, God, I wish people told me this. I don't have to like Google this for hours, but BAFTA also do a scholarship as well. They paid for my driving lessons, which is so important if you're wanting to work in the film industry, because like I couldn't really afford lessons and also afford like rent if I was in London, so yeah, it was really, really helpful. What else is there? Creative Access, Creative Access, they're amazing as well. They also advertise jobs, lots of venture jobs. Arts Jobs as well, .com also advertise lots of jobs. Instagram account.
Independent Cinema Office.
Independent Cinema Office as well, yes.
We should find, we'll find a place to collate all of this.
Yeah, and so just write it down.
Find them.
Yeah, Instagram accounts, so UK Film Jobs, or UK Film Work I think it's called, and assisting on-school jobs as well. That's how I got my current role for the TV company I work for. So yes, there's a lot of stuff out there, but I think it's all just sort of bitty, and we should find a way to. But to answer your question, speaking to people and trying to gain experience. And there's a lot of things that are like 3-month things with possibility to extend. So you can do it for a few months, see if you like it, see if you don't. And also getting to shadow people and just doing sort of trialing different areas within the creative industry. And also talking to friends who may have graduated and who work in the industry and actually seeing what it's like for them. Realistic, like a day-to-day life thing. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start. I just saw your hand go up first, so yeah, I'm going to start with you.
First of all, thank you so much for the talk. It's very inspiring. And my question is, when you enter the film industry, would you recommend rather go for a bit of everything, or would you rather recommend go very niche? Which one would you say is perfect?
I'm going to repeat the question just for the audience. So when you go into the industry, would you recommend having like a wide range of experiences across a lot of different fields and like within the industry, or would you recommend going niche at the beginning? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm a production assistant at the minute, which means I don't technically have like a craft, or you have technical departments, craft departments, and then production assistant is more sort of administrative. But that's been super helpful because it means I get to chat to every department. So I'm in and out of the art department, costume, camera. So you do get contact with all of them. And I've heard it's super common for people in this role to then hop into those more technical, skilled places later. So that's definitely been a really good place. But also what I found at the beginning was just do something. Like I started off in post. I think post is objectively really cool, but it's not my end destination just to do post-production. But if you're just doing something to begin with, you'll figure out what it is you do enjoy, don't enjoy, and then you can like hop onto something else, because you'll chat to people, you'll hear about what else is out there.
Yeah, I would echo that. And just from my experience, I would say doing as much as you can. Stuff that's like, if you're being paid to do stuff in film, then you're doing a good job, probably. I'm going to take one more question, and then we probably have to wrap up. Yeah, over here.
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to ask, like, when creating your own projects, would you say it's more important to kind of search for agency representation, like set up your own production company, or more apply to just like anyone to kind of help you work on it? Like, which do you say is like the most valuable to you, or the most like whether you want more control or like someone to help, like an agent or something?
Yeah, Hannah, you'd probably be good to answer this.
I'm just pro, if you have a dream, a project in mind, as much as it can stay in your control and in your power, go down that route. I think, I don't know if you're a student or you look young, there's a young people in the network, sorry. Just using the network of people around you to make it happen. And I think, yeah, finding an agent or a producer it's not impossible, but it's tricky and it's hard. It can sometimes be a step in itself. So if you're already kind of at the start line with a crew of people, I think my first thing that I filmed, the first documentary I did, I just advertised on Facebook, like, is there a DP, is there a sound recorder who wants to help me do this? And luckily there are people who are kind enough and had more experience than me who could teach me a couple of things and could make that happen for me, and they turned out to be really informative and made the project happen just because they knew more and had more experience than me. I think maybe it's just my bias, but I'm pro always being your own producer, always being your own champion, and the rest will follow after that in terms of representation and that stuff.
Speaking of representation as well, often it's kind of like a chicken and egg situation where if you're trying to get an agent, you kind of have to have something hot and exciting that they want to pick up. I know, yes, yeah. So I think as well, it's kind of like being aware that it might not be like, oh, I want to get an agent, I'm going to email around, like someone will come to me, it might take a bit longer, but I'm going to allow you to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently with people who've got quite full lists, so like the people we're signing are people who've just created like Netflix original series, so we're on like it depends like what kind of stage people are at in terms of building their list and what they're looking for. I would just say to like any aspiring creatives, like realistically now is the only time you're going to be able to do anything completely without compromise. It might not even get made, but I think now's the time to really just like follow your voice, find the thing that excites you most, and when you've got something that excites you, share it and share that excitement because it'll be infectious. But you know, Abby Morgan and Stephen Moffat, they have to compromise to get their stuff made. So, you know, now's the time to really just like dream big and really like kind of own what you're doing.
That's such a nice note to end on. So first of all, I want to thank Amy and Rachel because we spoke so quickly and they did such a good job. Especially with all of those website names and things, so well done on that. We'll try and find a way of getting them to you. And then thank you so much to our panellists. Give them a massive round of applause. And yeah, thank you to everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. Bye.